Dzień dobry państwo. I will switch to English because, let me be honest with you, Polish is harder than rocket science. Trust me, I tried. So today I would like to start telling you about me, also about my journey as an analog astronaut, what it really means to be an analog astronaut, because a lot of people don't know what it is, and telling us why this is important for our planet and how we can save it using space technology. All right, so I want you to start with a thought experiment. How would you feel if you needed to stay locked up 15 days? No sunlight, no contact with the outside world, with your loved ones, with anyone, just with 5 crew members that are living with you on the same place, on the same habitat. How would you feel like that? That's exactly what we try to recreate here on Earth, because we need to go through that if we want to colonize the moon and other planets. So this is where the analog missions come into place. Here in Poland, actually, maybe many of you don't know, we have one of the best analog sites, not only in Europe, but also in the whole world. There's people coming from all over the world to Poland to train and to experience how it feels to be an astronaut, and if they had what it takes to be one. This place is a really special place. It's called Lunares in Piła, close to Poznan in the north of Poland. And this place is really special for a lot of reasons. The first thing is that it's a decommissioned Soviet-era hangar, right? With it used to be planes and stuff, but now we turn it into this facility complete with an EVA area, a research station, utility rooms, an airlock, and everything for resembling as close as possible to a real moon base. So what we do here is we want to get as close as possible to the real experience that the analog astronauts, not just the analogs, the real astronauts will have when they encounter in their trips to Mars, Moon, and beyond. So here what it looks like, and I was fortunate enough to be part of this experience. This is what the bunk beds looks like. It's quite futuristic, actually. And we want to feel as closely as possible to this experience, because we not just do this for fun. Well, it's actually pretty fun, but we also do it for science. We do psychological research. We also do physical research on how long-term human missions and the human body in general will react to long-term isolation. That is what we're going to encounter if we go further into the space. So this is what the bomb bags looks like, and this is what we eat. 15 days eating this. Yeah, it's not that bad, but it's mainly dehydrated food, what we've been through, because when you go to space, you need to hold the food as much as possible, right? So maybe at the beginning of the missions, you can have a little bit of fresh produce, maybe some apples, fruits. But if you want to do longer missions, you need to have you need to have dehydrated food or food that lasts longer. So this is also another aspect that we study, is the psychological effect. What is the psychological effect of eating this every day, one day after day after day? It becomes repetitive. It also affects the psychological part of the astronauts, like it becomes monotonous, right? So that's why the researchers from all over the world sent their research proposal to Lunares so we can test it on our analog astronauts. So we can test different food qualities, different food types, different configurations, which is the best time of the day to get food. everything that you can think of, we tested out. For what? Of course, for valuable data to future missions to the space. Another thing that we do is the bio area, the bio lab, which some of you that are interested in the biological science might find interested. So what we do here is 15 days is too little to grow something bigger, but still we get some results, definitely. What we do here is we sprinkle these little sprouts with meteorite powder to see if they will actually grow under the conditions of space or they will die. So that's one of the research we do that. And actually, you will be surprised, the meteorites, dust, and the harsh conditions, they don't restrict their growth as much as you think. So actually, we proved with this project that it's possible to grow crops in space. This particular was lettuce and I believe spinach. So it's possible to grow crops in space, definitely. Yep, here's me with the meteorite powder and with my little baby that we nourished for 15 days and we take care of them. So they grow. We need to water them. It's part of the schedule. We run in a really tight schedule. Everything down to the hour, it's scheduled. So we have an hour to wake up. We have an hour to go to sleep. We have an hour to do this experiment, because there are actually a lot of experiments that we do here. And why we do all this? Why go into the hassle of locking yourself up for 15 days, doing science? Like, why we do this? Because the ultimate goal is to have this, right? I'm sure I'm not the only one who has dreamed of this, to colonize other planets, to get a human presence on the moon, on Mars, or beyond. So what we do here in the analog missions, they actually prepare us to the near future that we're gonna face, which is going out of the planet. But the whole point of this event is how we can stop climate change. Many people ask me, why are you talking about space? Why you wanna leave Earth? Why we don't save it instead? Of course, it's a really valid argument. Of course, we can save Earth using space technology. Many of the technologies we used right now, they were developed originally for space. Most importantly, I would say the solar panels. They were first developed by NASA in the early 1950s, 1940s to power spacecraft. So these solar panels, now they are helping us fighting climate change. Something else that we do during my mission was putting the suits in the EVA area, and we did these EVAs, which stand for extravehicular activity. What we do here is we take samples of the regolite of the lunar soil. Of course, this is not real; it's a simulation, but we want it to be as close as possible to the real thing. So that's why we wear full suits. We want to do it as uncomfortable, as closely related to the reality as possible. Why? To test new equipment, to test new tools, to check if the suits actually will restrict your movement when you want to take samples of the lunar soil. That's why it's important to take this simulation to the close as possible to reality, right? And this is actually really good idea to test many different technologies. For example, this is a 3D printed sample collector that we did during my mission. Everything was made in the mission. We 3D printed the whole thing. Why is important the 3D printing? Because once you're in space, there's no resupplies from Earth. Maybe if you want to resupply from the moon, it's possible, but if you are in Mars or beyond, you will need to wait 6 months for a resupply. If your tool breaks, you will need to fabricate a new one. That's why it's important, the 3D printing part, because you need to have this option of fabricating a new tool in case if it breaks. Or not just tools, anything in reality. That's why we do this. So this is that was my experience here in Poland. I highly encourage you, if any of you is interested. Lunares is a really good option here in Poland. People from all over the world come here to Poland to do this analog mission. It's a great start if you're interested in space. And my other experience was at NASA in Alabama, in Huntsville, specifically in the US Space and Rocket Center. It was a really, really cool experience because here we can actually feel what it feels to be an astronaut, to train like a real astronaut. How you can simulate in gravity? Well, the simplest way is to get into a pool because there you don't have gravity. You do have gravity, but you have zero G. You feel like in space. That's why it's really important to train in these pools. There are gigantic pools. In the bottom, you have different tubes that resemble what you have in the ISS. So what we do here is training like the real astronauts do. And this is a picture of a French astronaut of the European Space Agency training in a big pool. What is essentially that is the best way to train astronauts on Earth for long-term missions and for feeling what it feels like in space. This is a real picture whatsoever. It's incredible for me. This is what a spacewalk looks like. And it's exactly what it feels during the pool. You feel the in gravity. Here during my 1 week 1 week camp at NASA. We did all kind of stuff. We did the scuba diving. We did some flight testing, and we also did the G machine, the gyroscope, and that was like I was actually enjoying it. It was not that bad, but some people actually vomit and puke because not everyone is prepared for the G's that you experience. But why astronauts do this? Because they need to resist all these G's, all these forces on top of their heads when they launch. Right now we have 1G of atmosphere on top of our heads, but when astronauts launch, it's 9Gs what they need to experience during launch. So that's why you need to get prepared by that. And it was a really, really nice experience during space camp in the US. I highly encourage you also. They accept people from all over the world. It's international. So there's just a lot of opportunities for, especially for young people, young students. If you want to get into space, the space camp is also a great option. And during the space camp was not just that. We also had a challenge that we needed to design a mechanism, a compliant mechanism actually. And me and my team come up with this design that resemble an artificial muscle. So this design will actually launch to the ISS, expand and contract when the temperature change, because the ISS is orbiting the Earth one time every 90 minutes. So every time the sun hits the material, is going to expand. And when the ISS goes to the dark part of Earth, it's going to contract. Why are we gonna do this? We're gonna test the strength of the material. It's mainly a material science experiment. We're gonna do it with nitinol, which is an alliation of nickel and titanium. So this is one application that we did in during my NASA space camp. And here we go to the good part. Why, again, doing all this? Why we need to become a multiplanetary species? Why not just staying on Earth? I think it's really important to go further and not just staying here. It's what we're gonna tell to our children, that we just stay on Earth and we didn't do nothing. No, I think we need to go further and explore what it's out there. Because if something happened to Earth, that's it. We don't have a plan B. There's not a planet B. So of course we need to take care of Earth, but I think it's good to have options. And if we want to increase our possibility as a species to perdure and survive, we need to go to space and explore new planets, explore further. And I think humanity is a species of explorers, of adventurers that wanna go further and see what it's out there. And right now, while we are talking, there's people in the US and in Europe, in many countries, already designing the rockets and designing the habitats that's going to be used on Mars. So it's not science fiction anymore. It's happening right now. And the space boom is happening right now. It's a new space race. In the past, it was United States versus the Soviet Union, who can get first to the moon. Now it's not about governments. It's about private corporations like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and new players like China and India. So the world is getting smaller, but again, we're entering this new age of space exploration, and I think it's incredibly exciting. And another question that people often ask me is like, why Mars? Why the moon? There's no other places? Of course. We can have also people in Venus or in one of the moons of Saturn, Enceladus or Europa in Jupiter. There's many places our species could migrate, but that doesn't underscore the fact that we can take care of Earth as well. And something really inspiring for me is this mission that happened recently a few years ago. It's called Inspiration 4 from SpaceX. This was the first mission that had only civilian astronauts. So this is changing the game completely. You no longer need to be a pilot or an expert military general with thousands of hours of flight. Not longer is like that. These people is a doctor, psychologist, geologist, and a businessman. Is no longer what is your profession. It's just changing, right? It's no longer space is no longer for pilots and for really specialized people. Space is for everyone. That's what I want you to take with my talk here. That space is for everyone. And something that I also would like to say is, in the US, there's many progress related to this, and I think here in Europe there are brilliant people. I met a lot of really smart and really capable people here in Europe, and my question is, where is the European SpaceX? Where are all the European private space companies? Where are the startups? I think it's a mix of policy, of course, but I think it's possible, definitely, to have a European SpaceX one day. It's in us, it's in our generation. It's, it's in believing that it's possible. Because if the Americans can do it, I believe in Europe and in Poland as well, there's also a lot of opportunity for it. The Polish space sector is growing a lot in the past years. You guys probably know Mirosław Hermaszewski, the first Polish astronaut in 1978 with the Soviet Union, of course. But there's a new generation of astronauts, of European astronauts. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know, is Sławosz Uznański, excuse my pronunciation. This guy is the possible new astronaut from Poland. You're gonna hear about him in a couple of years, believe me. And I met him personally, such a great guy. And I believe it's possible. And Poland is pushing further and further every time into space. And with all these new astronauts that we're gonna have, with all these analog missions that are happening in Poland, with all these young people that are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, I do believe Poland has a bright future in the space sector. And I just wanna finish this talk with this image of the Voyager 2. This spacecraft was launched in the 70s, but is still sending data to this day. It was launched originally to go to Jupiter and to over Neptune. Now they just left the solar system. But before all their cameras went off, before their battery died, they turned and they took one last picture from Earth. This is what it looks like. This is us at 6 billion kilometers away. Do you see any borders here? Do you see any wars? Do you see any conflicts? I think this image really shows us that we are just a tiny speck in an empty and big universe. And for some people, this image is discouraging. Like, what is the point of it if we are so small? For me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish our tiny planet. Thank you so much.